Battle started.
Let's turn up the heat. We're jumping into a fresh map, Onyx Cauldron, for another intense 1 vs 1 clash as Pigz battles his way through the chaos of Beyond All Reason multiplayer. Our Bacon Warrior is in for a wild ride, facing AllReasonNoLogic's TANKTOM, getting a first-hand taste of the madness of Bar. Also got Praetor here helping me out today because I've half lost my voice.
G'day everyone. I'll be taking over for Tariq on some of the commentary in an attempt to try and save his voice so we can get more videos out over time. As you can see, we've got Pigz as the blue player and Tom as the red player on Onyx Cauldron, which is considered to be a symmetrical map. Both players are starting off as a bot start, and we'll see how they go. This should be a very even matchup with even metal available.
Who you got your money on?
I got my money on Pigz because he's been doing this series with you, whereas Tom, as with me, is mostly a versus AI player.
Yeah.
But Tom is also an incredibly aggressive player, so Pigz might fall to that in the early game. We'll see how it goes.
That's true.
I also know that Pigz doesn't have too much experience with the T2 transition because you usually beat him too quickly.
Oh, fair call, fair call. Tom definitely has the hours in the game. He's got the 4 chefs versus the 5 chefs versus 3 from Pigz.
Yep.
And Pigz
Looks like both players are starting off with a builder first. They both know that the classic PvP strategy of getting as much metal as possible, which if you've watched my game against Pigz, I did not. And they're both launching their way into pawns with no aggressive moves as of yet. Tom has got a
I be like this wind.
Tom has got a grave robber out,
terrible,
as he
isn't
said,
It's
to get away from the wind.
it's so inconsistently shocking is the painful part of it.
Yeah, do you know, it's funny, you know, every time that I think that Twigs and I have played against each other, it's done this. I don't know why, it's so, like, erratic.
Tom taking advantage of the reclaim.
Yep, for those of you listening in, Pigz and Tom can't hear us, but we can hear them, and we'll be giving them priority if they talk. But yes, Tom is overcoming the issues with wind by using grave robbers in order to reclaim the trees. Each tree is worth anywhere between 200 and 250 energy. So for those of you playing this at home, if you ever get stuck on wind and there's any sort of fauna in the map, it's usually reclaimable. Looks like Pigz is the first one to move across the first half of the map with an attack of 6 pawns. Tom is matching him with 6 pawns, and he's got his commander forward. If Pigz goes around Tom's commander, there's very little in the base to protect him. So we'll see how Pigz takes this engagement. Tom's radar has spotted Pigz, and it looks like Tom is going to stop at least half of the attack.
Okay.
He scouted those other. Pigz would be smart to take that pawn away. Oh, he's seen the radar. Nice little snipe there, but
Good
probably
snipe
not a good engagement.
Yeah, he doesn't have units to follow it up, so in the end the reclaim all falls on Tom's side, so Tom will gain a metal advantage from that attack.
The waypoint set by Pigz as well is just in his base, whereas his is going halfway up to the front line. And
so it looks like Pigz, even losing that engagement, Pigz is actually outnumbering Tom in pawns, though only slightly.
Whereas Tom's metal income is about double.
Yep. I initially commented on Pigz going for the early PvP strat of grabbing as many metal as possible with a builder, but it looks like he only grabbed the one and then moved into wind. It seems like that low wind at the start changed his initial strategy, and now he's falling behind.
And he's built that second builder. He's building the construction turret with it. Whereas Tom took a lot longer to get a second constructor out. He's actually not got a second constructor out. He's relying on that reclaim, which is definitely helping him a lot, but it will hit that point where he needs more build power.
Yep. And Pigz at the moment is actually going to crash into 5 of Tom's grunt. Oh no, he's pulling back. He doesn't feel confident. But this is actually a good strategy by Pigz, probing both sides to see where defenses are weak. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like he's seen 4 of Tom's grunts that are coming to his base from above.
Definitely don't recommend taking on a commander like that.
I mean, if you have more than 8, I'd actually try. If you've got 8, it comes down to how good your degunning is.
This is where our Pig should actually be pushing his advantage. He won that first engagement, but he's pulled back.
He did, and now he's only barely ahead. And again, Tom isn't overly grabbing the metal in the middle of the map. This is where, oh, Tom's got an attack going on in the base.
Very much surprises me
Minimal damage
comparing
done.
the game you had with Pigz to this one, where it's 6 minutes and he's only just sending that constructor out of his base now.
Yeah, I'm genuinely surprised. I think Pigz is, as I said, I think Pigz got disrupted by the low energy at the beginning of the map, and he hasn't quite got the experience in the game to think and get back on his feet the way that someone more experienced like Tom does.
Yeah.
He's definitely ahead as far as what you want in PvP, which is units and the ability to deal damage, but he's falling behind on expanding.
That's his cardinal sin. Like, some games he does it great, other times he doesn't do it at all.
Yeah. And Tom's falling into the classic trap of overexpanding and not trying to press his advantage, with his metal income being more than double, 19.6 versus 6.4. Tom could just overwhelm Pigz at this point.
You can see Tom's overflowing metal.
Yeah, no build power, and as you called, that was going to be a problem.
700 metal
now,
so far excess from Tom.
Yeah. And now with him building additional build power, because he's been relying on grave robbers for energy, he won't have the infrastructure to back it up. So we may see a prolonged game here due to both players stalling their economies. Something which I would love to see on this map, Tidal is at 20, and they both have water very close to their base. In particular, they have some very out-of-the-way areas right in between the cliffs.
Yeah.
Sneaking some tidal generators in there would actually be a great play, and you could do it with your comm. Particularly Pigz, who hasn't let his comm leave the base. He could use his comm to assist a build turret and then free up the build power. Speak of the devil, Tom's getting some
Titles, there you go.
some water power.
I'm surprised that Pigz is running his units into where he knows the LLTs are. Like, he knows they're there. He could have explored along the edge.
Oh, sorry.
He has a pretty clear line of attack over here where he could absolutely cripple Tom's base.
Yeah, I do think this might be a short one, and I bet you in that post-game commentary, Pigz will be saying it. First game of the day, he's still waking up, still got his cup of coffee.
Just as a bit of additional information for the viewers, how do I delete the line that I just made?
You do it by the eraser at the very bottom of the map. Bottom right hand corner.
Yep, I see it. Thank you very much. Sometimes I use tools I don't quite know how to.
Hopefully Pigz has realised that he's up against aggravators, and the thing to do here would just be rush them.
Yep. Unfortunately, in his build queue are Maces and Centurions. Both are actually very strong, the Centurion particularly. However, they don't outrange the aggravators, and they have a reasonably slow movement speed. So if Tom kites this, he's almost a sure in. And as you can see by the line of units crossing the map, Tom is starting to use his better eco.
Yeah, he has now.
And if this game goes on much longer, Tom will be able to push in with overwhelming firepower. It's interesting to note that we're nearly 10 minutes in and neither player has made a push for T2. This is pretty common. T2 usually in team games is a lot more common than in 1v1s. As you can see,
Pig's warm-up game. I've seen him play better than this as an emerging player.
Yeah.
But just turtled up, staying in his
Yep.
base. That's all it was. There's no way that Tom could have built enough stuff to go and cover the whole map in 2 seconds. So I'd typically in a game like this build 2 or 3 constructors and send one out in each direction. Chances are you might lose 1 or 2, but the other one manages to build on 4 or 5 metal points as you got an extra 10 metal coming in per second.
Yep. Something which, speak again, I mentioned T2, and here we go. Looks like rather than trying to finish the game off, Tom is going to extend this one out a bit further in T2. He doesn't think he has the ability to push through the Maces and the Centurions, which, if he'd, instead of going for thugs, if he'd just gone with aggravators, it may be a different case altogether.
Yeah. Now Pigz is doing something that he sees me do often, but he's doing it very differently than me. He's going for an air transition because he's realised he's losing and he's going to go for that commander snipe, which often does work in duels. To do this, he has to reclaim his lab, he has to stop building units and put all his metal. And now he's walking away from that air lab, so he's unfortunately going to he's going to lose the metal from that as well.
Yep, that lab got all the way up to 48%, which means it's almost half of the metal investment already spent that will disappear, which is close to 400 metal, I think, off the top of my head. And with his diminished economy, that's just not enough. Tom's still nearly doubling economy, which is surprising considering how much of the map Tom controls versus Pigz. I'd expect the gap to be much larger at this stage in the game.
Yeah. By the time Pigz walks back to that air lab, it's pretty much all gone.
Yep, and he's instead of trying to build the air lab, he's gone back to assisting unit production. Unfortunately, with the metal income, there just isn't much hope to reclaim that T1 dominance, and Tom will soon push in, most likely with Sheldons.
Yeah,
or knowing Tom, it actually might be mammoths if he's crazy.
Only move for Pigz right now would be commit to the air.
Yep.
Rather than feeding 1 unit at a time. Maybe use your commander to de-gun some of those thugs.
Interestingly enough, Tom isn't actually reclaiming the battlefield to fund his T2. He just has enough income to pay for it, even while it was being constructed by 8 construction bots. So he's leaving a lot of potential metal on the ground. Oh, and now he's reclaiming it.
You're 1 step ahead each time.
I think being 1 step ahead is easy when you don't actually have to play. If you add the micro and the macro in, I'd be 1 step behind.
I
think this is Pigz' last opportunity to push out.
Pretty much.
With those Centurions, he could do it. If he pulled his commander off to heal them, he might actually have a very strong chance against this army.
That hurt.
So even though the trade is going in Pigz' favor, he's not doing enough damage to offset the fiends that are coming in. 12 fiends should be enough to close this game out. Fiends are very quick, high damage unit, low health, but with what Pigz has available, Tom should be able to storm through. It depends on if he's confident enough in himself.
Even with the air transition with Tom's commander sitting in the water with only the head popping out, it's not going to take much damage, so take a good probably 10 to 15 bombers to do a real quick snipe of the commander in the water.
Yep, unfortunately though, Pigz is not actually building with his air lab. So combined with the lost progress, that's an investment of approximately 1200 metal, and there's no units coming out of it, which means that he could have an additional 1200 metal worth of units at his front holding if he hadn't gone for that.
Here we go, gunships.
How do you think gunships will fare against a comm that's half submerged?
Well, I don't think they'll do very well, but
Yep.
What they could do if he got out enough. Oh, interesting.
Yep, Pigz is spending his metal on an aggravator. Unfortunately, with the build power available to him, it's going to be probably too little too late.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
It definitely is an option for defense.
Here goes the game, I reckon, if he keeps pushing those fiends.
And Tom's doing the smart thing that I didn't in my game against Pigz. He's actually trying to clear up his economy. Oh, and the gauntlet is going to be seen. See how quickly those fiends cleaned it up. And now that the fiends are on the economy, there is very little that Pigz will be able to do. Even with the com defending, just one of those getting to the wind will be enough to cripple Pigz.
No, none of them.
Yep.
These
And
fiends
now
coming
it's just
from
left
both
to snipe the
sides.
commander.
Should be able to get that come pretty quick if they all went at the same time.
Yep. For those of you who don't know, there's a surround bonus in the game, and it's pretty forgiving. As long as you're attacking a unit from both sides, you deal significantly increased damage.
You're unmuted on my end.
Pigz has
Yeah, I'll do
essentially
that too.
given up the ghost for this one, and he's joining us for the post-game chat. We'll try and get
Yeah.
TANKTOM into it once the com blows up.
Hello, I am here as well.
Oh, how do you guys think the game went?
Battle ended.
Do you want to go first, Tom? You go.
Well, I know I did some weird stuff at the start with wind being all over the shop, and there was a few times where I was like, "Oh, that was dumb." Your engagements on both sides of that middle pond were good at the start there, Pigz. Not long after that, I was like, "Oh yeah, the energy out of the water is really good," and then started building lots of tidal generators in there, which basically powered me to T2.
It's good to
Yeah,
identify
I
those
should've-
sorts of things at the start of the game. AllReasonNoLogic's got a video out about those first 5 decisions you make before you even start the game. Check it out when you guys get time. But yeah, Pigz. I reckon that was almost the polar opposite of when you took on Prey Death. You just turtled up in your base.
Yeah, I did it start, and then I realised I got to the about halfway. Well, just about 3/4 way through that, and I thought, "Where's my construction?" You know what I mean? I normally build the construction tower.
The turret died
like,
when he did his first push through with the grunts.
Yeah, and
I
that's
forgot
didn't
to
notice
build
that.
my construction tower at the start of that game.
I saw that, Tom, and I
I
was
didn't-
thinking that's unlike you. And Pigz actually had like an energy advantage and had a unit advantage, but unfortunately, contrary to what you just said,
expected he would've.
his engagements probably weren't actually as good as I thought he's done in the past, where he took on your commander with four pawns, which aren't going to win.
But yeah, the way that you started the engagements was good. The way that you microed them wasn't great, because there was a couple of times where you had nearly double the units that I did, but I sort of went, okay, I'm going to lose this if I fight head on. I'm going to start at one end of the line, work my way across it.
Yeah,
Mm.
and
I
great
was probably
thinking
back
doing
at the base
the
doing something, trying to swap. That's probably why I wasn't looking.
great thinking
It's like
doing
one of
the
these things
air
you try and-
transition, but you tried to do that while still building units and building a guardian. There's just no possible way.
Yeah,
Like,
me
if you do a
gauntlet, I
transition,
realised that was big, but yeah.
you 100% commit to a transition. You don't do two things
Mm.
at once. You do one thing at a time, not three.
I didn't
My
know
plan
what he
for that
had.
game
I
was-
just had this feeling. I just had this feeling that obviously Tom was going to go to T2, but he would have that much air, if not nothing. So that's
I
what
had
my plan
nothing.
was.
If you'd gotten something again,
Yeah.
it would have destroyed my base.
Not even a single
got it
AA
up.
turret.
I got
was
it
looking
up.
for that.
I got it up,
Had
and then I
nothing
was
at
like,
all.
it was like if I'd have had a few more minutes, what I should have done is cancelled the gauntlet and reclaimed it again, which would give me a huge amount of metal boost to be
Yeah,
able
as soon
to
as I
finish
saw the
and
gauntlet,
stuff.
I was like, well, I'm going to kill that on my way through.
Yeah, the whole point of that was to try and push you back just enough because you stuck off, and I thought he's sticking off here. I know that instead of I've worked out, and probably Twig said this 1,000 times to me. It's easy to rebuild units and reclaim than it is to resurrect them. So it's like, well, wait a minute. I need to push you just enough to be able to claim that there, to get some more, to push you back a bit far. And then I thought, wait a minute. I need to make a decision. It was either the factory, like vehicles, or it was that. And I
By
thought,
that
well,
point, all the
vehicles,
metal
you've
was
still...
gone.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
at that
it's
point of
like
the
a-
game as well, you got to think, zoom out. Look how much metal Tom's got control of on the entire map. Even if I get this reclaim, is that going to make a difference to the end result of this game? at that stage of the game, that's when I need to snipe the comm, because when the comm dies, the other opportunity
reason
you
that
had
I
to win was when you had pawns and he had the comm. You could have just swarmed the comm with pawns.
Yeah, that would have been rough.
I
The
think
reason
that
I
one
didn't
of the
push into you was that I didn't want to give you the metal field from my things dying under your tower. Was the only
Yeah.
reason I
Yeah.
didn't go further into your base.
I think
Well,
one of
if
the
you
key
take-
takeaways from this game has been just how critical decision making is. When you're in a fight, you need to make sure that you try and win that fight. If you're deciding between an air transition and reclaiming a metal field, you have to pick one and go for it, instead of trying to achieve both and doing neither.
Yeah, but I mean, if there's a question with this, Tom, because obviously we've played each other off recording before. You know what I mean, early on
Yeah.
when I came with you guys. Is your opinion that I'm better now than I was then?
I think so.
Yes, but not in this game. This game, unfortunately, because of your because you got flustered by the early build turret, you fell back on old and comfortable habits. You certainly played your units better. You certainly did better building, but you lost some of the things that you did in the game versus me, which was the mass expanding, the how smart your early attack was. You identified where my defenses were, and you tried to sweep up along my line. Whereas here you ended up trying to over micro by attacking in 2 locations and not being able to fight in either of them. But I think that if in the next game, if you take even just the expanding lesson to heart, I think that you will find that we're back on you're back on track and playing like you were against me.
That's it.
My goal for this game was get to the middle, get some LLTs around that pond, so that I could have some idea of when you were coming, and hopefully hold you at bay. Because I knew if I could hold that, then it wasn't going to be too bad. But once I got to that point, I was like, oh, well, he's not throwing any more units at me, so I can probably hold him in his base, and then that'll basically be game.
Well, another key tip for that, when you did take some pawns out wide at the end, Pigz, I was like, oh, maybe he's got a chance here to do some real damage. You went right in where you already knew LLTs were from Tom. You could have just simply avoided them, gone around their circle, and kept all 5 of those grunts alive. There was nothing else between your pawns and Tom's base apart from those 2 LLTs that you took on. On those maps where you've got metal in other spots in the map, if someone's won one area, it doesn't mean you can go and expand into a different area and equal that income of metal. Like you had the island up the north and you had that canyon down the south. No one ended up taking the island on the far side of the map. It was just the canyon that Tom took every mechs inside there from. But yeah, do we have anything else to add to this? Jump into the next one shortly.
I think we can wrap it up there nicely, and we'll catch you all in the next one.
For now.
See you guys.